Good morning and welcome to Get Real America. I'm Brittany Brown, and you can notice that Bill is not here this morning. We have Drew Smith with us this morning, who will hopefully be, you'll be seeing a lot more on the local spin coming up in July.
Yes. We got a new show coming up that we're putting together, and I can't wait to make a formal announcement on that. But yes, today I'm sitting in for Bill Edwards, and I hope I don't muck everything up.
So, welcome to Get Real America. You know, it's Memorial Day this weekend, which everyone loves a 3-day holiday,
Right.
3-day weekend. I believe Bill's getting 5, so he's done a great job. So we gave him a couple more days off. And it's supposed to be rainy on Friday and Saturday, but the rest of the weekend looks pretty good.
Oh, the weekend is looking great. Plus this weather that we're having, it's like air conditioning weather. So everyone's going to have fun. Friday, Saturday, we're looking at a little bit of rain. But Sunday is going to be nice, clean, and clear with a little bit of cloud coverage. So it'd be perfect for getting out there, doing some barbecues or just hanging out.
Yep, and there's lots of stuff going on in Savannah. Plant Riverside always has great stuff happening. You can also probably head out to the beach. Tybee, I'm sure, has a lot going on. And we probably shouldn't promote South Carolina, but I'm going to say that the beaches out there are very nice. So head out to the islands there as well. Hilton Head has amazing beaches. So lots of stuff to do on Memorial Day. But don't forget to remember why we celebrate Memorial Day, which is to remember the people that gave our lives for our country and for our freedoms that we currently have. Don't know how much longer they'll last, but I think that that's really important. I think that that's something that we've forgotten. We really focus on the party part of the 3-day weekends, but not really necessarily why we celebrate those holidays.
Very true. Very true.
So we're going to head into this Trump-DeSantis thing.
Oh, man, it's been a wild past 24 hours with the DeSantis announcement, and interesting on the Twitter platform how well that worked out for him last night.
Definitely interesting that Elon, he does a lot of great things. I am not sure what the heck happened last night.
Yeah, you would think on such a great platform like that they'd be able to handle the surge of people joining in on the call, and maybe a little bit more production quality and totality of the whole thing. From what I understand, there was a lot of issues with microphones, with keeping the stream, everything up. And it did not go very well for old DeSantis.
No, there was 194,000 people that were on at the time of his announcement, which yesterday, I think on YouTube, there was like a PlayStation thing that they were doing that was 750,000 people. So definitely not the big bang that I thought they were going for. They definitely knocked it out of the park, though.
Yeah.
Not in the way they wanted to, but I think there's also a huge difference between DeSantis and Trump, and I think that we're going to look at kind of their promos.
Our border is a disaster. Crime infests our cities. The federal government makes it harder for families to make ends meet, and the president flounders. But decline is a choice. Success is attainable, and freedom is worth fighting for. Righting the ship requires restoring sanity to our society, normalcy to our communities, and integrity to our institutions. Truth must be our foundation, and common sense can no longer be an uncommon virtue. In Florida, we proved that it can be done. We chose facts over fear, education over indoctrination, law and order over rioting and disorder. We held the line when freedom hung in the balance. We showed that we can and must revitalize America. We need the courage to lead and the strength to win. I'm Ron DeSantis, and I'm running for president to lead our great American comeback.
The Washington established politicians like to talk about how they can be just like Donald Trump. The truth? There's only one Donald Trump. Only one who gave us the largest tax cuts in history, who gave vets the health care they deserve, and stood up to China and protected your job. Only one who kept us out of endless wars while destroying our terrorist enemies. Only one who fundamentally changed the Supreme Court was called the most pro-life president in history. and relentlessly protected our Second Amendment rights and our borders. Why would we ever settle for Trump imposters?
Make America great again.
When there's only one, starting day one, who can make America great again.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
So I will say that I feel like a lot of the talking points are the same for DeSantis as they are for Trump. And Trump just has the it factor.
Yeah, he definitely does. And especially right now, I think this is really Donald Trump's time. Ron DeSantis is still a great candidate all in all, but right now is not the right time. Florida is heading in the right direction, especially with everything that he's doing with Disney and getting everything cleaned up there in Florida. I think leaving the helm of his position right now would be a very bad idea. And him running for presidential candidate, I believe, only takes away from Donald Trump's chances.
Well, I also think, so how would you feel? Ron DeSantis was asked, if we elect you, will you be the governor all 4 years? He answered that question, yes. And here he is running a presidential campaign while he should be focused on Florida. I think that is something that will hurt him in Florida, especially because Donald Trump also does live in Florida. Yeah. And you have a lot of voters there that are DeSantis people, are Trump people, but they will vote for Trump. They will not vote for DeSantis, and they feel betrayed by the fact that DeSantis is running and is not staying in Florida like he said he would.
Yeah, and he ends up at the end of the day pulling votes away from Donald Trump, which ends up giving a little bit more power to the other side. I think strategically, this is chess, not checkers, and this is a really bad time for him to come out. I think if he waited for after Trump to run for the next presidential term, especially as young as he is, I think he would do a lot better. I think he would have all of America backing him up, because I don't see anyone else in the field right now as strong as DeSantis.
Yeah, and our friend Mary Heider-Reeder, she also agrees with you. She says DeSantis 2028, and that's the plan that we should take is making sure that we have a deep bench. Let's let Trump kind of finish his story arc. Mm-hmm. Let him, go in there like a wrecking ball, like he is. And I mean, after everything's been exposed, I think he has more of an opportunity to actually go in and do the things that he wanted to do in his first term that he was maybe reluctant to do full bore because he still had a second term to worry about.
Yeah.
I think going in with only a 4-year term for him, I think that it could be a great thing for the U.S. And then having, DeSantis maybe grow into some foreign policy and also grow into a little bit of charisma. I think that could be really helpful for him.
Right.
So, DeSantis. And he was also asked, so one of the big things that I think is interesting about how the parties have flipped is the war on Ukraine. The war on Ukraine, a lot of people really, on the right-hand side, really don't like it. And on the left, they're all about Ukraine. They fly their Ukraine flags. They're, ready for us to donate all the money in the world to Ukraine to finish this war. And on the right, we have a lot of people that are like, no, we don't want to do this. We're done with this. So it kind of has flipped because it used to be the left that was really against the war. So you also see the Uniparty in play here. And with Ron DeSantis' answer to that question, I was pretty disappointed. He was with Troy Gowdy yesterday after his announcement. So let's take a look at what he had to say.
All right, you wore the uniform. If you are elected president, you may be the first one in a while to have worn the uniform. How would you address the ongoing war in Eastern Europe between Russia and Ukraine on day one of a Ron DeSantis presidency?
Well, first, I think what we need to do as a veteran is recognize that our military has become politicized. You talk about gender ideology. You talk about things like global warming that they're somehow concerned in. That's not the military that I served in. We need to return our military to focusing on commitment, focusing on the core values and the core mission. That would be something that I could take care of on day one. There'll be a new sheriff in town as commander-in-chief, And I think you'll see recruiting start to get back to where it needs to be because people don't want to join a woke military. And I think it's been really, really problematic. Look, in terms of what's going on over in Eastern Europe, I'd like to see a settlement of this. I do not want to see a wider war. I think it's completely unknowable what it will look like in January of 2025. But I would not want to see the United States with our troops get enmeshed in a war in Russia or in Ukraine.
Segment.
Okay.
All right. So that was his answer. I don't think it was strong enough, in my opinion. I think Trump's answer on that question was, I just want to see people stop dying. I mean, that's pretty plain, pretty clear. And he's not so political when he answers things, which I think is refreshing for a lot of people.
Well, the best defense is keeping everyone to stay at bay. During Trump's presidency, we saw that most tensions overseas were actually held back. Nobody was actually going to war in the first place, obviously saving us billions of dollars in taxpayer money. Trump held everything in a very quiet point, and we really do need to get back to that.
100% agree. And our friend Mary's with us, and she says the war in Ukraine is a money laundering scheme. I don't disagree with that either. And Trump, day one, vows to stop the war. And the thing about Trump is he goes in and he does what he says he's going to do, and he's respected. And I think that that's something else that we haven't seen from the current president is that he's not respected across any stage in the world.
Yeah, we don't see him walking across that North Korean border, do we?
No, definitely not. Well, not only that, Putin has snubbed him. Japan snubbed him. India. I mean, they're all moving away from the U.S. because they see that we're a failing nation right now. No matter how you look at it, we are not doing well in our economy. We're making really bad decisions when it comes to our culture, this woke stuff that they, put in the military, put in the government, and they really are going after our kids. And it starts at the government level. That's who's doing all of this stuff.
Oh, yeah, through education, through media, through everything that we have going on. The corruption starts from our youth all the way up to adulthood. And we also look at other issues right now, like with the military recruitment issues that we have. How are we splitting our military into other people's wars? Our equipment and everything that we have is just being run thin by this administration.
Yep, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. They are now talking about giving them F-16s, which was never on the table, but all of a sudden is. It's amazing how that works.
Right.
And, I am just really frustrated with people that they don't get involved. They're not educated. And one of the things that someone said was, you look at a Trump voter, they're probably more educated than any other voter out there. They're up to date on the different topics, but I think because they follow Trump, they're following all of this stuff very closely. And
well, the biggest problem is alternative media is the only place where you can really find the truth. When I'm looking at the news right now, I can't look at MSNBC, CNN, and all those other news groups because we're getting a one-sided story without good information. But I've got to go over to YouTube, or not YouTube, excuse me, not really well on YouTube, but there's people like Tim Pool, but Rumble, Truth Social, Locals, there's so many other platforms out there where it seems like all the good information has migrated over to.
Yeah, and our friend Mary mentioned Conservative Read. I have not checked that out, but I will have to.
Definitely.
And the other thing is I will say CNN is definitely... Oh, conservatives read. Okay, got it. Thanks, Mary. So she's saying that conservatives do read.
Yes.
And I think that that's the other thing. We don't just read the headline. We'll read the whole article. And I think that that's the key to getting the truth, because I think a lot of times those headlines are very deceitful.
Yeah.
So when we get back, Bill actually did a lot of work before he left yesterday, and he is talking to Travis Chance. And then after that, he's talking to Jay Ratliff. So we'll be right back with that.
At Get Real America, we are focused on Savannah, but we'd like to hear from other communities as well. We have a lot in common.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America. I'm Brittany Brown.
I'm Drew Smith.
Filling in for Bill Edwards.
Yes.
So we are going to go ahead and check out the interview that Bill did with Travis Chance on your finances.
Welcome back to Get Real America. Once again, time to find out what's going on in the wonderful world of the stock market. For those who like roller coaster rides, this is a great time of year. Travis, we got the summer season about to crank up, Memorial Day weekend. A lot of people are going to be traveling and stuff, and a lot of people are going to be saying, how am I going to pay for all this? And they might want to, so I think a lot of people right now are really nervous about what's happening. They keep hearing about a bank closing. They keep hearing about the market going up and down. And once again, we try to convince people this is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah. Bill, it's a crazy time. I mean, it seems like every time we turn on the news, it feels like we're walking through a landmine field. You know, we're seeing them just, being stepped on left and right. And the most recent debacle we have is obviously the debt ceiling, which is causing a lot of additional angst because people are like, are we going to default? Are we not? Are we going into recession? Could this be the catalyst to push us into recession? I don't know how. I feel like I know how you feel, but I don't know how the audience feels. But I'll give you my opinion. I think you and I both have seen this movie plenty of times before. They're both going into, Republicans and Democrats going into what's going to be a very vicious and up and down election cycle next year. If either side is the one that gets hung with with causing the default, the other side's going to beat them over the head with it for the next year. I think people are going to vote with their pocketbooks next time, and I think that ultimately there will be a debt ceiling agreement made. Not saying you and I are going to benefit from it, not saying the American people are going to be the better for it, but I do think we're going to avoid default. We're going to keep moving forward. Now, long term, not a great idea. Probably need to cut some of that spending, right? If we're spending more than our means, probably need to live within our means, maybe even cut back a little bit. But I don't see that happening. But in the short term, I really don't think it's going to be this huge calamity that everybody's kind of worried about right now. So I don't know if your listeners are giving you questions for that, but we're starting to see a lot more of that the closer we get to it.
And of course, I believe in America. I believe in the stock market, and I believe in the free enterprise system that will that manages to survive all the screw ups that the government tries to throw the brickbats at. Meanwhile, still going. Yeah. Well, the whole thing is, we have a media that thrives, Travis, on trying to give you bad news and make things worse than they sound, and only give you half of the story. You keep hearing all the precious metal people are advertising like crazy to put your money in gold or platinum or some sort of precious metal, silver. And I think people right now, you see a stock market that people say, well, there are people who still make money in the bull market as opposed to the people who make money in the bear market. and how do what's the best way to invest right now to make sure that I keep my income on a steady basis, especially to keep up with inflation that's going on?
Absolutely. And Bill, that's a great point. There's money to be made in both markets. Bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. I mean, if we try to chase every dime on the table, chances are it's not going to end up well. You might hit a home run every now and again, but over time, it's probably not. You're not going to have a real high batting average when it comes to picking those types of ups and downs. One of the things that I would recommend, especially right now, because as you said, the retirement process, the financial planning, the investing process, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not designed for 2-month, 3-month periods. It's designed for 20-year, 30-year periods. So the first thing that I would do is, if anyone out there is nervous, first thing they need to do is check their risk tolerance. And that's the reason that's something we recommend on a frequent basis, just so we can make sure that we're doing the things that we need to, because when the market is in a turbulent period like it is right now, we want to make sure it's not when we're making money and nobody cares. It's when the market goes down, we want to make sure risk tolerances are appropriate, because that way you don't end up making an emotional decision. It doesn't get to a pain threshold where you're actually selling when you shouldn't. The next thing people should do is, there are actually, because of what's going on, there are actually alternatives, which is what we recommend, between bonds and stable value assets that are paying anywhere between 3 and 6%. I mean, if you have an opportunity and you think you're going to need cash in the foreseeable future, why not take advantage of some of these assets, right? Go ahead and put that money, park it for 6 months, park it for a year. You don't have to earn 50% on your money to be successful. When it comes to the quality of your investments, some people are getting a little impatient, because they're like, the S&P looks like it's having a great start to the year, but I'm kind of flat to maybe up 2-3%. Well, the reason being is because if you look at the equal weight S&P, the majority of the market is kind of flat for the year. Really, the only thing that's taken off this year is AI stocks. So don't get caught up in that bubble and that craze. Look for quality, look for dividend yield. So like you said, producing income, sustained income over a time period, that's really going to help you along that path. And then last but certainly not least, if we do go into a recession, which I don't think we are, I think we're going to skate. If we do go into it, it'll be shallow, but I think there's a greater likelihood we could kind of skate along the edge and kind of work our way out. Make sure you don't get over your skis when it comes to the duration of the portfolio. Make sure you're not taking an extended amount of risk, because we saw that movie play out last year. If you search for higher yield by expanding your duration, then chances are you're probably not going to like it if we see interest rates shoot up again. We've already seen it happen, so there's no sense in trying to think this movie's going to have a different outcome when it's basically the same thing.
That's the truth, and I know I always love the way you talk us off the ledge. Travis, about that there's one guy that says, I predicted the last crash, and I predicted the last this, that, or the other disaster, and it's coming again. And you better go to my website and let me tell you what to do to save your savings.
Yeah. Go to my website.com and let me tell you I can sell you the solution that's going to solve your problems. Bill, I don't care what anybody says. You and I both know this. No one knows. I can't tell you what the market's going to do tomorrow. I know what the statistics, I know what the technical analysis, what the trends say. We're probably going to see 6 months, 12 months, a year down the road. But you can't predict from year to year, from day to day, because there's way too many things that can happen. I mean, even a broken watch is right twice a day. I mean, people, they've been screaming for a calamity since 2008. They'll eventually be right, and then they'll be like, "See, I told you." But they've been wrong for the past 16 years, So
I remember
Who knows?
the great sports prognosticator Jimmy the Greek on CBS Sports Sunday Sports used to say the New York Jets are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Now, and he was saying that for about 16 or 17 years. Eventually, if the Jets had won, he said, "See, I told you. Hey, I'm the great genius. That's why I'm making the big bucks." What do you say to? But once again, we tell people, you have a portfolio, you have a bunch of stocks, and so you're not laying all your eggs in one basket.
Correct. Bill, there's really no need. Now, don't get me wrong. I really don't think indexing for the next 5 to 10 years is going to work out well for most people because, unfortunately, for the last 15 years, you have really just seen the S&P take off because of ultra low interest rate environment, quantitative easing, really the perfect soil for stocks to grow and flourish. This coming season, this planting season, we're going to have droughts. We're going to have a completely different set of environment. If you're looking at S&P or indexing going forward, it's probably not going to work out well. You really do need to have some idea of the sectors you want to participate in and be very selective about the stocks that you pick. But yes, you are correct. Having a basket is obviously much better than having single stock risk. But we're going to have to be more selective as we go forward because the market environment that we had for the last decade and a half is not going to be the one we have for the next decade and a half.
And Travis, that's why they need to come to see you. You got something coming up, right?
Yes, sir. We have classes that we're doing right now almost on a every month basis. They can go to our website, chancefinancialgroup.com, check out the calendar, or they can give us a call and we can tell them when we're going to be back in their area.
Enjoy Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for the advice, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks, Travis.
Absolutely, Bill. Keep spiking the fun meter.
Sir. At Get Real America, we want to make sure that the real story gets out, and you can help us as a sponsor or as an advertiser to make sure that that word does get out to the community.
Be a sponsor and support your local community here at Get Real America.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was and that they had come to us because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America. It is time once again to talk to our good buddy Jay Ratliff, iHeart Aviation analyst. What's going on in the airline industry? And we're approaching Memorial Day weekend. Well, the summer season's about to kick off. Jay, how's it looking?
You type in TSA numbers. Google or the TSA gives us every day the total number of passengers that have been screened. And what's really intriguing about this particular site is it gives us a comparison between this year, last year, year before, going back to 2019. So as a result, what takes place is we can see what the travel numbers were pre-pandemic, and we can see what those numbers are now. And what we're seeing is today we have as many, if not more people flying than we did pre-pandemic. And Bill, what's fascinating about that is that we have fewer airplanes flying right now. You have hundreds and hundreds of aircraft, maybe 600 or 700 right now, that are parked because we don't have the crew members to fly them. So we, in essence, have more people flying than pre-pandemic on far fewer flights, which means we're going to be packed in there more than ever. And it's going to be a very, very interesting summer travel season, to be sure.
All righty. Well, I understand that the FAA is sparing no expense since it's our money anyway.
Well, you know, we have these runway incursions that have been taking place, and I guess the easiest thing to do is to start with what a runway incursion is. If you and I are the crew members coming in and trying to land on a runway and a piece of ground equipment comes across the runway, we've got to abort our takeoff, we circle to go around. It adds about 15 minutes of flight, and then we land. Sometimes a runway incursion is an airplane landing with another airplane preparing to take off. Bad news. So we've had a number of these over the last 6-7 months. So what the FAA is doing is spending $100 million to try to upgrade technologies, doing some construction, doing some other things to try to alleviate these runway incursions. Now, it sounds impressive. They're spending $100 million. Problem is they're only spending it on 12 airports. So if it doesn't sound like a government project to you, it certainly does to me, because it's like, come on here. At least let's pour this money into where some of these runway incursions are taking place. But it's a step in the right direction. Let's hope it continues. And these runway incursions are going to have to stop for sure.
Yeah, because we've seen those things where they a couple of times, and I remember Boston Logan, I think, was one of the latest. Planes hit wingtip to wingtip or something down there on the taxiway or something.
Well, yeah, and some of those are at the gate area where they're pushing back and they kind of clip wings. The runway incursions are more operationally critical, where you have airplanes that are landing at high speed, taking off at high speed, and two airplanes that could quite possibly occupy the same airspace at the same time. You've had a corporate jet that didn't have permission to take off that took off, and we had to have an approaching aircraft abort their landing as a result. And we've had air traffic controllers step in and order a aircraft to stop taking off or stop their landing because of something that was going on. And these types of things really shouldn't be happening. And it's a result of human error, where people will say, Jay, this is the reason why we need a fully automated flight deck. This is why we should have no pilots in the cockpit. It should be fully automated. That way these human error mistakes won't be made. Well, I'm not going to go there for sure, but every single time one of these things pop up, Bill, we're getting the exact same push from people that want to kick the pilots out of the flight deck.
Nothing can possibly go wrong. Go wrong. Go wrong. Go wrong. Yeah, I know.
Brandon, it kills me when this happens. But time and time again, we see where you have a number of people that are pushing for this, and pilots see it coming. You have, Southwest pilots negotiating, United pilots are negotiating, FedEx. I think tomorrow they're going to go on a informational picketing spree in Memphis. But they see this coming over the horizon, and they're doing everything they can to at least slow it down. I don't know how much luck they're going to have, but I can assure you by the time that, we're done flying, 20 years from now, that we'll probably have a situation where you'll have flights that have absolutely no crew members, or at least one instead of two. Really don't see, given how hard airlines are pushing this, that we can get away from it.
And what about the air traffic controllers, Jay? Because there was a worry that they were all going to be retiring about the same time after Reagan fired everybody back in the early '80s.
It's curious. If we hire everybody at the same time, would it not make sense they're all going to retire at the same time? And the idea that it caught people off guard, oh my gosh, they're retiring at the same time. I'm like, where have you been? Don't you, we knew this in the 80s when everybody was being hired. To the FAA's credit, Bill, they went to many airlines in the Northeast and they said, look, we're going to have an issue in the Northeast because we have a shortage of air traffic controllers. So we want you to cut back 10% on your flights as far as this summer out of the summer travel season. Now, I can tell you when I was with Northwest Airlines, had the FAA walked in on us and asked that question, we would have politely listened, we would have let them leave, and we would have laughed, thinking there's no way on God's green earth that we're giving up summer flights. I simply don't get it. So, to me, it's something that, the fact that airlines right now are considering it, to me, is something that, really surprises me. But we've seen Delta, United, and I believe American and perhaps JetBlue that have canceled 10% of their summer operations in some of these busier summer airports to try to accommodate the lack of these air traffic controllers because they know that the delays are going to be very, very costly. They're trying to avoid them if at all possible. And we'll see if it makes any difference.
Gosh, well, I wish them the best, and I keep hoping for the best.
Yeah, as we go into this summer. But I can tell you right now, we shouldn't have the headaches we had last summer. Last summer, we had too many flights during the summer travel season. This year, they've cut a lot of flights back, tens of thousands of these flights back as a result. So what we're seeing is that we're better positioned for what's going to be taking place now than what we've seen before. So to me, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this summer goes. It's going to begin on Friday, brother. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes as far as this busy summer travel season.
And Jay, as we wrap it up, another travel photo has gone viral. Last week we talked about that put his luggage out in the aisle and propped his feet up. And now we've got it on the screen right now of this guy. What is this guy doing?
He puts his dirty, stinky, bare foot on top of the tray table. Now, me, knowing how infrequently those tables are cleaned, I'm like, gross. I'm getting really freaked out here because I'm thinking that's what people eat off of. That's where when the potato chip drops, they pick it up and put it in their mouth. The idea that people feel comfortable doing this continues to boggle my mind. I'm thinking, do they do this at home? Yeah, they probably do this at home. And it's just again, time and time again, we see people acting up on these planes. It's like the idiots that put their feet up on the tray table and start clipping their toenails. And they fly 2 rows up, 3 rows back, that kind of stuff. And you're thinking, Bill, we've known each other for many, many, many a year, and you've never heard me say, nor will you hear me say, I've seen it all, because I will never underestimate the idiocy, the asinine behavior of people when they fly, ever.
A lesson to Cape in your carry-on luggage to bring those sanitary wipes. So
yeah, see if I can throw you a curveball. They were surprised. I was surprised. Forbes magazine came out with the top number of airports that were the angriest. They looked at tweets from March of last year to March of this year, and the most angriest airport was Orange County, California. I thought for sure when I saw this come out, I thought, oh, it's going to be the Northeast, the Northeast, the Northeast, and then the Northeast. I don't think we had one Northeast airport in the top 10. It was, Orange County. And Sherry and I fly out of Orange County quite a bit because that's our West Coast airport of preference. But the idea that they had the angriest airport really surprised me because they're kind of laid back out there.
Yeah. Well, they really are. Well, you just have to take it with the proverbial grain of salt. Jay, enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for the update as always. Godspeed. We'll talk to you next week.
Always great talking to you, sir. Have a good day.
You too. We'll be right back.
kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America. I'm Brittany Brown.
I'm Drew Smith, filling in for Bill Edwards.
Yes, and our friend Mary is with us. You guys just heard Jay Ratliff's report on the airlines, and I will tell you, the picture of the foot was disgusting on the tray table. Like, people are so gross. Like, I don't know what has happened to mankind, but, like, no. You should not put your feet on things. I'm sorry, flying on an airplane is uncomfortable as it is because you're in like the small seat, confined space. You're breathing this air that is recycled. It grosses me out. But
Aside
sorry.
from the foot being on the table, I could only imagine him having his shoes off. It didn't make matters any better.
So gross. So gross. And our friend Mary says AI replacing pilots. What could go wrong? I mean, we've seen how the Tesla stuff has happened. Those car accidents are usually really bad because the car is self-driving and maybe doesn't stop and gets in a car accident, and it's way worse than people could imagine.
No, there's a great point in that. Now, first I want to start off with saying, for the past at least 20 years, we actually have been using AI in flight. Most of the time, pilots are just there to make sure that everything goes smoothly. Now, removing pilots altogether, I definitely don't believe we're ready for that. My main thing is I do a lot of online game streaming. I play a lot of games that have heavy AI integration. Now, we see in most of the games it works pretty smooth to a point. Most of the time we'll see in the more difficult parts of the games, we'll see them crash. Now, AI today in modern technology and with safety systems obviously is going to be a little bit more serious than what we see in the gaming sphere. But most of these gaming companies, they develop the AI that we use today.
Well, and I think that that's the scary thing for me. And they are reducing the requirements for the pilots, which also scares me. I want to be able to look at my Delta app. Yes, I fly Delta. And I want to be able to see what the credentials of my pilot are, because I'm concerned that with them reducing all the requirements, them thinking that replacing pilots with AI is a great idea and taking them out of the cockpit, not a great idea, or reducing the requirements for the pilot and putting the AI in place and having the pilot be a backup. Mm-hmm. They don't have the experience necessary to be able to navigate something that goes wrong with the AI. Steve Stanton says, I wouldn't be here today if I put my feet where they shouldn't be in my parents' house. Steve, I don't disagree with you. My parents would have lost it. My parents were very strict. And so when we were growing up, it was be seen and not heard. And today, I just can't believe how people act and how obsessed with themselves they are. They think that they are the most important person in the room at all times. It's the most bizarre thing to me.
Definitely an interesting culture thing that we're starting to see. Maybe it's the whole trophy, everyone gets a trophy thing that we saw growing up. Maybe it's the everybody's special kind of thing. But yeah, there's a lot of self-centered behavior that we're seeing popping up everywhere. Even this morning, I've got clips on clips on clips coming across my timeline of people fighting at gas stations, fighting at the airports, and all kinds of horrible back and forth.
Yeah, well, and I honestly think it has to do with the social media generation. Everyone wants to see how many likes they can get, how extreme they can get to get the likes that they want to go viral. I mean, I think that that's really what it comes down to as well. And parents not parenting their kids and handing them an iPad instead, I think that has a lot to do with it. Millennials are probably some of the worst parents when it comes to disciplining their children.
Oh yeah. Here's the tablet. Here's the phone.
Yep.
You just go to it. Have fun. Don't get in the way. Don't make any noise. Just stay over there.
Yep.
That has definitely led to this awfulness.
Yeah, and it's the all about me generation, and I will say I do come from that generation, and a lot of parents just don't want to be bothered, and it makes you wonder why they're parents. I just don't understand it. But
well, that's something that we as conservative parents also have to watch out for. There are some parents out there that just don't want to raise their kids. But at the same time, a lot of us are so busy working that we forget to be involved in our children, be involved in what they're watching, what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I love to say that we're all too busy, but at the end of the day, children should come first no matter what the circumstances. And I think that has been lost upon us, or we think that, I don't even know what it is. I don't have children at the moment, so I can't really speak to that, but I can't imagine a world in which I wouldn't put my child first. And that's why it boggles my mind why people do not go to school board meetings, why they don't know what's being taught at the school. I do think 2020 helped a lot with that, but for some reason, it's like we have the shortest memory in the world. Everyone sends their kids right back into the public schools where they know they're being indoctrinated. I don't get it.
As a father, I know it's difficult. It's very difficult to find that time to raise your child, to be there with your child. If you're required to work from early in the morning to late at night, so it's almost impossible. Your kids get home very early compared to when you get home. So who watches them? The daycare system, after school programs, babysitter down the street. And by the time you get home, you're exhausted. You've only got like an hour or two with your children at most, if the homework load isn't heavy. So, it's really tough here in this society where we have to work, we have to pay for all these taxes, we have to take care of everybody else's kids as well as ours. So when do we get the time to take care of them?
Well, and I do think that comes from, unfortunately, we have a lot of people that have to work, both parents in the home, and I think that is really what has helped the society move in the direction it has, because the government is raising the kids. People were upset during 2020 because they didn't have a babysitter when they needed to be at work. And that's basically what we've turned the school system into, which it shouldn't be. I'm very traditional. I think that if you have the ability to stay home with your children, you should.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's the best option for your kids. And at the end of the day, being a parent is the most important thing, because you're raising the next generation. And we're seeing how that can go vastly wrong. And when you don't teach your kids to love the country they're from, we're seeing this hateful, awful communism and socialism come into our country. And I can't even believe it.
No. It's been very difficult, especially, like I said, myself as a father, it's been very difficult to have that time at home. We've had to make massive sacrifices. And so I ask, parents out there to make a decision here. What's more important, having the BMW in the driveway or having a child who's more successful in the future?
Yep, it's all about sacrifice, and our generation definitely has not learned that. Our friend Steve says we really screwed the world up in the last 50 years. I don't disagree. I will talk to my parents and I'll say, this is your guys' fault. You never went to a school board meeting. And my parents were like, we were busy working. I'm like, yeah, but now look where we're at. So I do think that the other thing that we're seeing that's very concerning is what's going on at the border. And apparently borders are racist now. What isn't racist, I guess? Let's take a look.
Do you think borders are racist?
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
I don't really. There's no need to really expand on that. Just kind of.
It's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
I'm Ami Horowitz, and I'm here to ask people on the left, are borders racist? Let's go check it out. Do you think having borders is racist?
Yeah.
That's fair to say?
Yeah, I think so.
Having a border is racist?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I agree.
Yes.
I'm going to keep walking. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
No question about it?
No.
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
I don't really. There's no need to really expand on that. Just kind of.
It's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Do you think that having a border is an expression of racism? It's a tool of racism?
Yeah, it's control. So they automatically racist. They think that we're better than them because why? Because we're on this side and they're on that side?
It's a free country, so I think everybody should be here. It's rooted in racist ideology.
Yeah. Borders.
Yeah.
It's everybody in this fucking country is racist. Whether they say they are or they're not, they are.
Because why are you keeping them out? It obviously has something to do with it's racially motivated. You don't want them in here.
Do you agree that this country is fundamentally racist?
Yep.
Like forcing people to go through like the Sonoran desert instead of like we force them to go through the desert because like we basically know that they're gonna die in the desert instead
you think
of
that's
like,
kind of
that's what it is.
Your parents came from?
No, my parents were not. They weren't born here.
Where are they born?
Dominican Republic.
Yep, this country is very racist. But do you think we'd be better off as a global society if we were borderless?
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would probably say so. Sure, I think that would be a great idea.
I mean, in an ideal world, I think that there would be no borders in countries.
I think an open border would help a lot.
For a bunch of guys who are baked, you guys are very eloquent. Do you think people who are trying to get in this country, poor brown people from Mexico, Honduras, Central America, do you think that people trying to get in this country from the South would say to us the same thing that you're saying? Having a border is racist, stopping me from getting across is racist?
100%.
We've come to Nuevo Laredo, a major crossing point for migrants to try to come into the U.S. We're here to ask them what they think about America's borders. This is an area of very high gang traffic with a specialty in kidnapping. My cameraman sent me a disturbing message, and eventually we were forced to stop.
Haciendo aquí?
Oye, es que mira, ¿no?
What the you doing here?
But before that happened, is it racist for the United States to have a border?
No creo yo.
Is it racist for America to have a border?
No, yo no soy racista. No, racista no es racista. No es racismo, simplemente que Estados Unidos, pues así es una manera de ellos de cuidar su país en cuanto a la seguridad.
Is it important for the U.S. to have a border?
Sí, sí.
Sí, creo que es muy importante.
Digo que sí, por la razón de que, ¿cómo se llama? Pues cada quien cuide ¿cómo se llama? Su país, ¿verdad? Su country.
La verdad sí es importante porque...
Los gobiernos son libres, pueden hacer lo que quieran porque para eso están.
What do you think of Americans who say we don't want any borders?
Todos son estúpidos.
Unbelievable. Steve Stanton says, was that filmed in America? Yes, the first portion of that was, and it was in New York. I don't know if you could tell with all the masks. I think that crazy people live up there. And Mary says, this is sad. Literal brainwashing. Our country is not racist. No, we're not. Anyone that you talk to that has come through legally, they've said that, you know, people in America have been good to them. I was actually, last year, I was in Dallas, Texas, and I had someone from Africa that drove me. And you know, I was talking to him and I was like, how has it been? Like, have people been nice to you? And he's like, oh yeah, people have been unbelievably nice. And he's like, when I first got here, I didn't speak English. And he's like, people helped me. I would struggle through it and they would, you know, help him learn to speak English. And it's like, I want to hear more of those stories and less of this garbage that the white liberals are touting out to people. And Mary also brings up a good point. A country without borders is not a country. And I've been accused of being racist myself, but at the end of the day, we have to have some commonalities in America. And if we don't, our country is not going to be the same. And we're just all going to live in these little tribal areas. I mean, you see it in England. There is no commonality between any of them anymore. And so it creates a ton of cultural issues as well as issues within the schools and within the government. And it just never ends.
Yeah. This brings us full circle back to what we were talking about before that video about the cell phone generation, the tablet raising and stuff like that. You can see a stark difference between the people, you know, from one border to the other. The people that he was interviewing, the interesting color hair people in that video, you could probably tell that media has had a big influence on them. Whereas the other people before, you could see definitely sun affected, definitely hardworking people. They don't spend as much time in the mediascape getting that programming that has given them that opinion of a racist border.
Well, I also think when you ask the people in New York questions about why the border is racist, it's self-explanatory. They really have no explanation for why they feel the way that they do, which I think is a huge problem. They're not educated on anything. They just have a lot of talking points from the media, from social media, and they have no idea what they're talking about. They don't understand how the system works. They don't understand how government works. They don't understand how it impacts their life and how they really are voting against their own best interests.
Yeah, they don't really have much interaction with these people that are coming across our border. The most interaction that they've been getting recently is the busloads of people that have been being dropped off on their front door.
Well, in New York, their mayor down there, he thinks that we should, you know, bus them to every city in America. And, you know, not every city in America decided that they were going to be a sanctuary city, Mayor Adams. So you get what you sow. And, you know, you ran on that. So people in New York, I hope they start feeling the impact of having all of those immigrants there, because it's not healthy. It's not good. And at the end of the day, I'm upset that our federal money is probably going to end up in New York helping pay for all those hotels.
Yes, that's very true.
Well, we're out of time for today. Thank you so much for joining us, welcoming Drew as well to the Local Spin family. And we are going to be back on Monday with Bill. Or no, we will not be here on Monday. We'll be here on Tuesday with Bill. We're off on Monday because of the Memorial Weekend. So I hope you guys enjoy your weekend, do something fun, but also remember what that day's about and remember the people that have died for our country and for our freedom.
Thank you so much for watching, and please remember to like and share this with your friends.
Yes.